At the start of the 2022 season, the Tifosi felt like the curse has finally been broken and that their team can now be legitimate title contenders after the team's 1-2 finish in Bahrain. But it's been 5 months since the team celebrated their first win, and since then, the team has been on a rapid decline and basically shot themselves in the foot and completely ruining their chances of winning a title this season. And as if that wasn't bad enough, team boss Matteo Binotto and his pit wall team haven't owned up to their mistakes at least once this season. So, what is up with Ferrari? Is it time for Mattia to step down from his position? And just what were the team thinking when they pitted Charles Leclerc at the very last second during the Belgian Grand Prix? Well, as much as it's going to infuriate you Tifosi who are watching, let's talk about it. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's get started, shall we? Just before the F1 summer break and the Belgian Grand Prix this past weekend, Ferrari may have executed the biggest blunder in Formula One's recent history at the Hungarian Grand Prix, which quite frankly cost Charles Leclerc and the team any chance of bringing the fight to Red Bull once the season resumed after the summer break. And as the whole F1 stratosphere was laughing at this mistake, team boss Matteo Binotto would remain adamant that they made the right strategic decision and that the car's pace was the issue why both their drivers weren't able to get onto the podium. Certainly, we didn't have today the performance we were expecting, as in whatever the tires we were using, soft, medium, or hard, Binotto told Sky F1. I think at the end, the performance of our car was not as expected and the car is not performing well. Whatever, because of maybe the weather conditions. It was a lot cooler today compared to Friday, so it is difficult somehow to try to have the right speed, the right pace, and keep up the position on track. So today, the car was not behaving well. I think that's the point, that the first time this season, in 13 or 12 races, the first time it's not working as we are hoping for. We'll try to understand the reason of it. I think it was working, but not as well as we were hoping or expected for. So I think if I look at Friday at least, and the pace we've got, we had an edge. We had an advantage on the competitors, which was not the case today. This has been a repeating trend for Mattia, as he always defended the team's questionable decisions in Silverstone, Monaco, and at Paul Ricard, even though it was apparent that their decisions cost the team and their drivers a good amount of points in both championships. And as the summer break rolled along, many of the Tifosi hoped that some fresh air and time away from racing would give Mattia and his strategy to get their bearings under them, as they make a final push to, at the very least, secure P2 in the Constructors' Championship from Mercedes. But that would not be the case, as Saturday's qualifying would give a peek into what was to come for their driver Charles Leclerc come race day. During the qualifying sessions, everyone was already aware that Charles would have to start Sunday's race at P16 after taking an engine penalty. So Saturday's qualifying was more or less just an extra session for the Monegasque driver to get in some laps before Sunday's race and to give his teammate Carlos Sainz a helpful tow towards getting pole position. But even with this seemingly simple task, Ferrari would not be able to execute the maneuver seamlessly, as the team would fit a wrong set of tires onto Leclerc's car before he headed out to help his teammate. Charles would be heard on the team radio saying, "Wait, what are these tires?" with his engineer honestly replying, "Sorry, it's a mistake." After the team's admission, Charles and his engineer would debate over staying on the set of tires or having them changed. In the end, the team was able to sort things out and Carlos was able to take pole for Sunday's race, but even so, this moment highlighted just how unorganized and dysfunctional the team has been all season, which has led to a lot of missed opportunities for the team. After the session, Leclerc would remain PC in his interviews when asked about this and not point the finger at the Ferrari pit wall for the mistake. On the other hand, Carlos would admit that the tow attempt with Charles was a huge mess, saying, "My Q3 run 1 was cleaner," he said. "The outlap was a bit of a mess playing with the tows, see who wanted to lead. In the end, I had to lead and I had no tow and I had to take the lead there. In general, it was a bit of a mess, and the first lap was good enough for P2, which I knew was going to give me the pole." And as race day came along, Charles would cut through the field, and as he was doing so, Ferrari yet again brought in some comedy into the race as the team's conversation with Leclerc and his options were broadcast for every TV spectator to hear. In the conversation, Leclerc's race engineer would give Charles a set of options, as if the Monegasque had the time to think things through, as if he was sitting in a restaurant and not flying through Spa at 300 kilometers per hour. But credit to Leclerc, the Monegasque driver chose the best option out of all that was laid out in front of him by his race engineer, and was in for a P5 finish just before his own team chose to step in again and ruin everything for him. To add on to the Ferrari memes this season, the team would choose to pit Charles late for a set of softs to help him win the fastest lap of the race. But in doing so, the team wasn't able to take into account Fernando Alonso's, which triggered a speeding penalty that cost him a position to Fernando Alonso, even though Charles was able to get ahead of him before the checkered flag. Obviously, team boss Mattia Binotto would be asked again what was the team thinking when they decided to pit Charles so late into the race. Mattia would reply with, "Obviously, there is always a need to improve, and there are lessons learned, which we are looking and reflecting. But if I look back at the season, I think there is a lot of perception from outside about what are the truth and the reality. Sometimes we're not doing mistakes which have been perceived as mistakes. More than that, if I look at and focus on Sunday, I think the call to stop was the right call. You need to be brave in F1. There was an opportunity for us to get the fastest lap, and there was the margin on Fernando to stop and to try to go for it. I think was the right decision. We knew it would have been very close to Fernando. It was just losing the position, but we knew we could have overtaken him back. We had the fresher tires, and that would have helped in terms of DRS and top-line speed on the main straight." And it seems as though this lack of accountability runs throughout the whole Ferrari team, as the team's sporting director Iñaki Rueda would also back up the team's decision, saying, "We had some controversy at the end of the race surrounding Charles," said Rueda in a Ferrari video. "We had a window of opportunity in which we could challenge Verstappen's fastest lap. To that effect, we pitted Charles with 2 laps to go, and he came out of the pits with a set of soft tires. This didn't go as we planned. Not only did we miss the fastest lap by 6/10, but we also collected a small penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This didn't go as we wanted it to go, but if we don't take these opportunities, we're no longer racers." It is this lack of accountability and hardcore racer mentality that has infuriated their fans all throughout the season. And while learning is a part of growing as a team, making boneheaded mistakes in a sport where every team tries to hire the best researchers, the best engineers, and the best drivers, having a team of strategists that have made mistake after mistake with every race weekend is a clear sign that something has to change in Ferrari. But what do you think? Should Ferrari make a big change this off-season? Let us know in the comment section below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.